All right, so everyone, welcome back to Snazzy TV. I'm your host, Alana Tyson. If you follow the show, you already kind of know what we do here, you know, what the main goal is. We highlight influencers and folks who have some really interesting stories to tell, whether it be brands or services or what have you, and, you know, just interesting things in which the creative audience can learn from. And without further ado, I am just going to go ahead and jump right into this. So I am really excited for this episode of Before They Get Famous for a number of reasons. As you can see right behind me, I have a beverage, and that's very different from what I usually do on this show. And yes, I will be sipping in honor of my guest. So we're going to get into that. But my guest, I'll introduce her now, is Yetta Bungie. And she is the owner and operator of YBAR LLC, which is a mobile bartending service located in the Maryland region, Prince George's County, Maryland region. And we are going to get into all of what her service is all about and what steps it took for her to get to this point. We're going to talk about branding. We're going to talk about a lot of really interesting things and why I chose to have her on this show. Because, you know, people might be thinking, well, you know, it's bartending, it's not unique, but I thought there was some very unique things happening in this business, and I wanted to call those out, and I wanted to give the audience an opportunity to learn, Yetta, from a lot of the things that I feel that you are really, really doing right. Like really, really hitting the mark on some amazing, amazing things. So let's see. And it's the start of the weekend. So, right, if you're watching this, I would suggest that you go ahead and grab yourself a beverage. It doesn't have to be a margarita like mine, but it can just be whatever you feel like being fancy with in a glass, even if it's just a glass of ice water. Go for it. We're going to get into all of Y-Bar and all of that. So, and Yetta is going to be giving us a real treat at the end of this episode. So this episode might run a little bit longer than usual, only because we are going to get a demo of her services. And I'm really excited about that because the margarita is my favorite drink. So
Yay!
we'll talk more about that. Let's see. So shout outs. I'm going to do mine real quick. I am shouting out Loom Cube. Um, if you follow Snazzy TV, I've mentioned Loom Cube before. They are a digital lighting company, and they are actually, I'm actually using their lights right now. If you're a creator, lighting is really important to you. You know, it defines kind of how you look, what your setup, you know, kind of looks and feels like. And lighting is key for a lot of what we do as creators. And I'm just shouting out LubeCube because they have really, really hit the mark on creating a digital light that works for your desktop. It's modular. There's like pieces and parts that you can take apart and you can put it on your desktop. You can attach it to your laptop, all that kind of stuff. So I am definitely shouting them out because I am very, very pleased with their product. So I would recommend if you're a creator and you're looking for some good lighting, check out Loom Cube, and I'll make sure their info is in there as well. Um, I think that's it for me. Yetta, you got any shout outs for today?
You know what? I think I'm going to save them while we actually do our interview. And
Okay.
the reason being is because they're actually intricate and part of the story.
Okay,
So,
fantastic.
yeah.
So that just means we can move on a little bit quicker and get into all this goodness. Okay, so let me start with first of all, I know Yetta from when I was back out east, living out east, and we are friends. We had some mutual friends, and Yetta, I feel like the last time we communicated, there was talks about this, right? It didn't
Yes.
exist, didn't exist. It was kind of like a pie in the sky as we all,
Mhm.
you know, we sit down, we go out, we have girls' night, and we talk about the things that we wish we could do or things that we wish we could kind of get going outside of our everyday 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember you talking about the possibility of doing this.
Mhm.
And fast forward many years later, and so I will say this is as much a reunion as it is as much of a reunion as it is a professional interview, because we haven't talked in many years. And so, as normal, I'm going through through Instagram, and I see something that looks kind of familiar, and I was like, well, how does this person know me? And I'm like, oh, because I didn't recognize the name. And so I look and I see and I do some digging, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she did it.
Mhm.
She did it. So, first of all,
Thank
congratulations.
you.
Big,
Thank you.
big, big
Yeah.
congratulations. And I'm just really excited for you. And we'll talk more about, why and that's kind of what you want, right? You want your
Mhm.
business to jump out and grab someone, whether it's an old friend or a stranger or just a potential customer.
Mhm.
So, in your own words, so that's my kind of setup to this. In your own words, tell us what exactly is YBAR LLC.
YBAR is a mobile bartending service. So I'll be doing corporate events, kids' parties, weddings. And I've actually done a couple. However, COVID happened. And I actually started doing more pouches, and what was interesting about the pouches, they're drink pouches. I wish I'll grab you one later to show
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to
um,
say, tell everybody what is a pouch.
pouch.
Because not everyone knows what that is.
What
I
a pouch
do,
is.
but
Yeah.
because I drink. But I'm just saying, some people don't. But yeah, if you could just explain what is that and why is it unique to your business?
So it's
Not to
actually
derail you, I'm sorry.
no problem. It actually looks like an adult juice box. And it comes, I have many flavors from caramel apple to the margarita to the bourbon lemonade. What is unique about it is that during this COVID time, they're safe. And a lot of people were still interested in having like outside cocktails, but they wanted that experience in the house because we all couldn't go out. And it became one of my biggest sellers while I was not able to do like various events. Um, and I was really nervous of doing it. I was agonizing over doing these drink pouches. And the reason being is because I know someone who does drink pouches, and her name is Liquid Joy. And even though we do very different cocktails, shout out to Liquid Joy. She actually, it was like a good seed money. And I wanted to start my business, even though we were in the midst of COVID. And so I reached out to her and I just said, I don't want to copy what you're doing, but I just wanted some seed money. I wanted to get the business started. And one of the things, she's another Black owner, a Black woman. And one of the things she actually said was, there's enough business out there for all of us. And I thought that was so refreshing because a lot of times you see out in the media where we're all kind of fighting, or they say the crabs in the barrel.
Crabs in the
And
barrel. Yep. Just
yeah,
clawing. Everybody's clawing to try to get to the
yes.
top.
And and she came to me not just with, well, I came to her and she had such a positive demeanor about it, even giving me advice on how I can actually get more business. And that was really refreshing. I was really happy about that. So that is how it came about. Now during COVID, I've also been doing virtual classes, cocktail courses. So which is a
Wow.
lot of fun. So
And
I've
that's,
done
oh, that's so smart. That is
yes.
so smart. It's like you have to expand. And that's what I've talked about on this show all the time.
Yes.
Like, how is your business evolving? If you're
Yes.
doing it, you might as well get paid to teach it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And it's fun because I send out these, you may have seen on the site, these bartending boxes. I call them the Y box. They have about between 2 and 3 cocktails in it. And I give them a shot glass, the garnishes, the mixers, and then also if they want a signature glass, I also put that in there. And we have like a girls' night. And I show them how to mix the cocktails. We play games like maybe bingo. And then also they have a chance to win different prizes. It's been a lot of fun. It's been very busy, but it's been a lot of fun. It's like girls' night out, but it's also inside.
That is just awesome. Okay, so this Y box, is that available to purchase, or do you have to sign up to do a full on event and buy like so many boxes, or can just one customer just buy a box?
One customer could just buy a box, and then I'll send them like a card of how to create the cocktails. I'm actually doing one now for a birthday party, and I'm actually going to send them like a personalized video to for their box. And I just try to put those little personalized stamps on it since it's a small business.
Right. Wow. Well, let me just say this, Yetta. You're defined as a small business, but you certainly, your presence online does not look like a small business
Wow.
at all. And and that's a perfect segue into, what struck me the most was you are really, really maximizing social media.
Thank
And
you.
brand identity, right? When we talk about creatives, and if you go to any of these TEDx and startups and all that, those kind of things where they're teaching small business growth, small business development, or if you're an influencer, because influencers are growing businesses as well, maybe their brand is themselves. So whatever your brand is, right? Brand identity is huge. And not everyone, it kind of, I'm learning myself, that's not, it's not intuitive, right? Initially, because a lot of times you as a business, you know exactly what you want to do in
Yes.
terms of the service, but it's almost like this brand identity is a whole different business in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so as folks go to learn a little bit more about you and your business, they're going to see exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Thank you.
You will see that you've got your promos, your flyers, your logo looks amazing. You are killing it on Instagram. I love it. You
Yeah.
got your little splash in the glass. I love it. It is just it's just so awesome. So that's what struck
Thank,
me.
thank
That's
you.
what struck me big time. So, let's talk about that a little bit. Like the
Okay.
branding for you. How was that for you in terms of, okay, well, now I have this idea that I want to do mobile bartending, but
Mhm.
let's talk about your branding.
Yes.
Why was that so easy for you? Did you do this in a past life or what?
Okay, a small secret. I do have my master's in communication, and how we did our branding, we learned about social media and maximizing that and how much we have to post. I see you now.
Mm-hmm.
I do have another full-time job, so I did hire outside help.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin,
Mm-hmm.
who also has a master's in marketing, and she does my branding. And so we post drinks like at least about 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm just trying to take advantage of all the free marketing. So that's Facebook, that is word of mouth, that is IG before I actually, because now I need to also get a website. That's the next move that I do. But
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to cut down on capital and overhead. So I was maximizing what I could on social media. And it's funny though that you said it looks so great because I only see criticism.
Oh,
So
of
I'm
course.
so
We're our own worst critics. We are the
we
worst,
are.
and we don't give ourselves any credit, which is sad.
Yes, yes, yes. So it's doing a great job. And it's what I was gonna say is that sometimes for different crowds. So for Facebook, that I would say that's my 35 and over crowd. And then for IG, I would say those are between like my 25 and younger crowd or something like that. So
Okay.
it just, and now I want to branch off to TikTok. I was just talking to someone about that. So
Whew. Oh
using all,
my.
yeah,
Using everything
every,
at your disposal, right? The
yeah,
free stuff. Why not, right? It's there. Use it.
yeah,
I'm just hoping that the creators that are watching, the audience that are watching, please take notes, right? Because if you're not taking notes, if you're not learning anything from the guests that I have on here, that I kind of feel like I'm doing this all for nothing. And I
oh,
hope that's not the case, with the exception of highlighting people like you and the creators that I've had on the show so far. That part is always fun, and I just love helping people tell their stories. But you are really, really teaching us something here, all right? And using, because I would have, I knew there was something. I was like, her online is just killing it.
thank you. I did not know. I had no idea. I appreciate the feedback.
Yes,
And
yes,
I'm
it is.
sure my cousin Jessica, who does it, she's going to be excited about it, extremely pleased.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank
And you've got in your branding, and I'll just talk a little bit too about some of some aside from the social media, but your
you.
branding in terms of just your gear, even what you're wearing. Your you have masks. I saw
Yeah,
you've got the COVID compliant masks. You've got
yes,
your banner. You've got, I'm sure you've got your business cards that you're you have your drinkware also has
yes.
your, yeah,
I
it's
want to stay
amazing.
uniform, and then it's important to stay uniform and then also look very professional. So even though I'm a small business, I want people to know that when we come to service them, they're going to get nothing but professionalism and great customer service.
Mm,
And a part of that is part of what we look like, our appearance.
definitely. I have personally gone to events like house parties and things, and where they've had mobile bartenders, and I can say I have never seen anything like yours.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
oh yeah. There's, they white shirt, black pants kind of
Hmm.
thing, but definitely not. And that's not to knock anyone who hasn't quite gotten there yet, right?
Yes.
Because you
Yeah.
have to use, like we said, you have to use the skills that are at your disposal, right? But that just goes to show you how, you know, okay, you have a degree in communications. You would have never thought in a million years that that would come in handy in a business like mobile bartending, right?
Right.
So
That
it
is
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't always have to be so linear, right?
yes.
Just because you have a degree in communications doesn't mean you have to work in communications.
Yes.
So,
It's entrepreneurship and being creativity, innovation.
right.
So, and I actually learned the uniform part from working at the Hilton. That was my last job before we actually got laid off for COVID. And we had our name tag, we had our uniform, and I just love that very clean look. And that was something I said, I'm just going to transition over when I got my business. And it's funny you also say that because I've been actually teased for wearing uniforms. They said, well, you're the CEO, you're the boss. You shouldn't necessarily wear the uniform. And I'm saying, but I'm hungry. Like I am going to be doing the work as opposed until I branch off and able to hire other people. So I want people when I go to the pop-up shops, I always have my uniform, I always have my mask and tell them about the different services. I always have my display boxes because that's important to do at any class. And I let people know whether it's a big party or a small party, this is
Right.
what you're going
Okay. So does YBAR travel? Like, have you gotten any requests to travel outside of state or other places?
as long as it's around driving distance, I would. I definitely would. So the DC, Maryland, North Carolina, and Delaware area, I would, because those are places that I'm familiar with.
Wow. Because I mean,
Yeah.
imagine if someday in the future, we'll talk about that a little bit later,
Yes.
you're like, you can add that into your fee.
Yes.
Right. Line item,
Yes. Yes.
travel expense.
Travel. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So, and we're going to talk more about, the business of like, how did you come to learn how to do this? But we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
But just in the interest of creatives and really finding your niche, did
Hmm.
you have any other ideas before YBAR?
Absolutely.
Talk a little bit about
So
those.
actually, you said we've been friends before, and you noticed when I host or I go to a party, I love to entertain and I love mixing up drinks. But at first, I actually tried real estate. I actually went through
Oh,
the real estate courses. I actually tried to take the test, and it just wasn't for me. I had a tough time passing the test, and I was like, well, let me. And I think it was just because everyone was doing it, and I thought it was going to be lucrative. It wasn't necessarily my passion, and but actually making drinks and serving people actually is a passion of mine.
okay. So let's talk a little bit more about, the business that is, right? So how did you train? And let's talk about, because you said you worked at the Hilton. When
Yes.
we talked offline, when we talked, outside of this, we talked about the different jobs and things that you took in order to prepare yourself for
Yeah.
this business. If you
Yes.
can, talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so I got my bartending license from the professional bartending school, which is in Arlington, Virginia. And they had placement. So I immediately went to work on U Street for a restaurant called Local 16. And, you know, U Street is a very popular place.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, everything that you learn about getting alcohol awareness will happen on U Street, from people from being underage drinking, from them looking at the signs to see if they had too much to drink, um, to just your customer service. And I have to say, I aged out of working there on U Street.
I aged out of going to U Street.
Right, exactly.
I remember those days. Oh
Yes,
my.
yes, yes. I mean,
If you're not from the DC area, just look it up.
it was a lot. It was definitely a lot. And but I really felt like, okay, well, before I start this mobile bartending business, I have to be a bartender. I have to know what it's like. And so I left U Street and actually got a job working for the Canopy Hotel. And it's the Hilton Hotel, and their restaurant was called Truno. And they specialize in prohibition cocktails. And we know with prohibition, that was actually when the United States didn't sell alcohol anymore. So there were plate bars that were like, what do they call them? Oh my gosh, speakeasies and back alley type bars. And that's where you have your whiskeys and the rums and the bourbons, those type of cocktails, actually, like the sidecar, the old fashioned, the French 75, those type of cocktails actually came out of the prohibition era. And they're like upscale type of cocktails. A lot of times they use like fruit, they use honey, they use other types of syrups. One of the ones I learned was turmeric. And I was really enjoying myself, you know, learning all these different type of cocktails and upscale dining at the Hilton Hotel. And when it happening was against COVID happened. And I remember it was going very well. And then around March of 2020, because I started the business in December of 2020, December 2019. And then I went to work. And so it just kind of sat for like 3 or 4 months. I got the LLC, went to Maryland Express, and you have to pay what, $200, $220 or something to get your LLC license. And so I went through all that, but it just sat. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to get this bartending experience. And like I said, COVID happened, and we got laid off. And I said, okay, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to actually start working on the business? And that is when I actually started working on the business, and with making those pouches that became very popular while everybody was enclosed indoors.
Wow. Did you reach a point where you felt like it was overwhelming? Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it would, you know, take off like this? Or, I mean, I guess that's a good problem to have.
That's a great problem to have. Absolutely. Because I still do work a full-time job. I'm a federal government employee. And it's all about time management. And then also it's about allowing other people to help you and trusting people to help you. So I gave you an example in our pre-interview, is that when the virtual classes started taking off, and I was trying to put together all these different packages and these wide boxes to send out in the mail. And my fiance said, you know, let me help you. You know, you don't have to do everything by yourself. And I think that is one of the big things that for small businesses is we tend to want to control everything.
Everything.
Everything, every aspect of it. And we can't do that. We literally cannot do everything on our own.
I love that part of your story. And that's why I kind of wanted to circle back to that, to have you share that with the audience, that training piece, like, you know, the humble beginnings. Right? When you're, you know, working at U Street and you're like, I know good and well, this is really not where I'm supposed to be at this age of my life or this stage of my life, but it's a stepping stone to something greater or something, you know, bigger or something in the future that you're really like, okay, I just know that this is stuff for now, but it's going to lead me here.
Yes.
Um, so you did the LLC.
Mhm.
That's another piece of the business that I think it's important for creators to consider. Now, not everybody needs that, obviously,
No.
but for those who do, you know, oftentimes it looks like these things happen overnight, but they so don't. Right. I mean,
Mhm.
it's well and good for someone to look at YBAR and say, "Oh, wow, this is awesome," and that has to be easy. All she's doing is making drinks. But it's no, you know good and well, I don't think that.
Right. To market
It's
yourself.
it's it's if you've ever dealt with the US Patent and Trade Office to get a
Yes.
trademark, okay,
Yeah.
to get a trademark going, or a patent, or copyright, whatever, in your case, trademark,
Yes.
logo design,
Yes.
uh, creating signage, getting
Hmm.
business cards, you know,
Yeah.
all of this is part of that process that people don't see when you have the late nights and you're, you know,
Hmm.
and you know, and you're hoping and praying that that trademark even gets accepted, right? Because sometimes
I'm gonna
that happens.
do that right now, because
Mhm.
I got someone. I use the website Fiverr,
Oh
FIVER,
yeah. Hmm.
for my logo. So I'm trying to ensure, and I paid for it, and I made sure. Okay, well, it should be original, but we'll see what the U.S. Patent Trade Office says.
Exactly. USPTO, me and them are not on good
Yeah,
terms right now. They
right.
did not approve one of my trademarks, and you know, I had to go through the process over again.
Really? Oh my
And
gosh.
well, there's a story, but at one point I had two going at once, and I got one approved and not the other. So it's a learning experience, right?
Yes.
And it was credible. There was a reason, right? It was
Yes.
somebody else's was similar to mine, and I was like, you know, okay, you know, whatever, we'll
Yep.
work on that. But it's like back to the drawing board. But these are some of the stories that I like for people to hear, because
Yeah.
that's, you know, you don't hear about the failures necessarily. You don't hear about like when that, you know, when the trademark office, you know, declined your
Yes.
application, and you know, you have to go back to square one.
Yeah.
So
I
um,
think that's really important. One of the things you just said, because I was actually paralyzed by fear because I was afraid to fail.
mm,
And one other small business owner said, that's the part of getting started. Like you just have to learn from your mistakes. So some of the mistakes I have learned is just in pricing. And I've just been lucky enough just how to price my services, price my drinks. I've been really fortunate that other people said, like I'll give them samples of my pouches. Say, hey, try this out. And they said, well, what are you charging for this? And I said, like, $8, like knowing to charge what you're worth. And they was like, no, you're charging way too low for this. This is not an $8 pouch. And it took me like actually doing my price analysis to see, okay, well, some of these pouches actually cost between $12 and $15 to make. So I was I wasn't making a profit. And
right.
I was wondering why, like, okay, I'm spending all this money and I'm exhausting all this energy, but I'm not making a profit, even though have a lot of sales.
Right.
So
And that's so critical. It's business analysis, right?
yeah,
Because sometimes it's acceptable to not make a profit just to bring those people in.
yes,
But that has
absolutely.
to be intentional,
Yes.
right? It can't
Yeah.
be, you know, you just lowballing yourself and you don't even realize it, you know.
Yes.
But there are definitely those times when you know, you want to bring people in for sales or whatever, and
Mhm.
you're like, well, yeah, it definitely costs more than that, but I'm gonna, you know, the ends justify the means for me charging
Yes.
this little bit
Exactly.
amount
Yep.
for what I could
Yeah.
potentially get in the long run. So yeah, so you did a lot of legwork to get this
Thank
off
you.
the ground,
Thank
and it's amazing how much you were able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. And I don't say that lightly in terms of, you know, because you always hear, oh, you did that real fast. No, I know to you it didn't feel fast at all, but from
and it's
someone on the
so,
outside,
so far
okay,
away. And I know that's important not to compare yourself to other mobile bartenders, other
oh yeah.
businesses. But I'm like, oh my gosh, this person has this, and this person's been on TV, and
Don't do it.
not
Creators,
that,
don't
just
do it. Don't
enjoy,
ever.
enjoy the ride. So
Right. Your
yes,
business is exactly where it's supposed to be right now.
yes,
And that goes for YBAR, that goes for the influencer that's out there just trying to get viewers. You know, you might have 10 subscribers today. You know, don't you dare compare yourself to somebody who's got, you know, 1,000 or 5,000, because you have
Yeah.
no idea what they went through
But they
to get
exactly.
from A to B, right?
Yes. Yes.
So some key takeaways.
Yes.
So let's get into some more of the fun stuff. So now everyone
Okay.
knows that you are the real deal. Okay. You done got your certs, you trained,
Yes.
you worked on U Street, right? You're talking about prohibition drinks, which is so interesting to me because I mean, I've heard of those drinks, but I didn't know there was a certain class of those types of drinks. It's very interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
we all can't drink Long Island iced teas.
yeah.
We have to, we
Exactly.
have to upgrade our life
We have
sometimes.
to expand,
We
right?
have to expand. And also that gets another type of clientele.
Yes.
So that is one of the important things. I want to have a very versatile type of business and
Mhm.
be able to serve whatever they like.
Okay.
And I think that's important.
All right. So let's talk about the
Yeah.
experience of YBAR, right? So when you get a client, right, someone who decides
Yes.
to hire out YBAR for their event, what does that what does that entail for you on the back end? How active do you have to get, and what does that all kind of entail?
Sure. So one of the things I would ask them is how many guests are going to be there? That's the very first question. And the reason being is because they're most likely going to provide, well, they're going to bring their own alcohol unless that's something to discuss. And I could tell them, because we want to make sure that there's no alcohol waste. So I would tell them how many bottles they need to buy and then ask them what type of cocktails they like. So that way I can personalize different cocktails. I can actually, and I've done some really cool effects from using dry ice so it can look like a smoky type of thing. Now I've been playing with my new favorite thing is the pea flower and it changes colors. So
Ooh,
that is a really cool feature that I've been doing with. Yeah.
wow. I want to come to one of your events. I want to have you out here in California so you can just come and, you
I would
know,
love to.
oh,
I
okay.
bring
I'm
my
sorry.
mobile. No, you're fine. I bring my own mobile bar, and then I also have it set up just like the garnishes, the mixers. So they get a full service. It's literally like they have their own bar at their events, and there's no party big or small. So
Hmm.
that is the event. So I would like to know in advance if it's going to be, over 20 people. So that way I can reach out to another small vendor or bar so I can get another bartender to help me.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. See, it's spreading the wealth. I hear that.
Yes.
Right. Oh, this
And that
is
is
so
actually one
cool.
of my goals for Y Bar is actually being able to have other bartenders on call or being able to, because I would like to be able to sit back at one point
Mm-hmm.
and actually be able to provide jobs for other people in my community. So, and
Wow.
I made some good contacts through going to bartending school that I still have. And I said, hey, once we
Mhm.
start getting more business, I want to use you. And they're like, great, I can't wait. They're waiting for that call.
Mm.
So I'm really excited about that.
Wow. And that's the beauty, I feel like, of my being able to do this, because I've had so many different folks on the show. I had a film director, I had a videographer, I had a couple. You've seen the show,
Yeah.
and you know the couple that runs the basketball association. And now I've got someone here telling
Thank
us about the business of bartending, because that's just not something we get to get a peek into, you know,
you. Really?
on a daily basis. I mean, most of us, you know, who do drink alcohol, you know,
Yes.
you have your perspective of what you think it's like.
Yeah.
It's not something that you ever really think about, right?
Yeah.
You go to the club or to the restaurant and you order the drink,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much it. But then you hear your story, and it's like, wow, there is really a lot more to this, than just serving drinks. Like you
It
said,
is. It's
looking to make sure that people are not overdoing it. And I'll just put this
yes.
plug in there: drink responsibly,
Drink
right?
responsibly. Over 21. There you go.
Yes. So, it's just really interesting to be able to get an insider's perspective on all
Yeah.
of this. So, what do you think are some common misconceptions about bartending? Like, and maybe things that you now know that you didn't know before.
Mm. That there is an art form to it. You don't want to just mix a whole bunch of liquors together.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, there is definitely an art form to it. Um, and part of that is like what I was taught is like you wouldn't just mix a whole bunch of foods together that didn't go together. You want to make sure you have the right taste buds, the right amount of liquor. So I think that's one of the misconceptions. There's an art to it. People have studied their wines, they've studied their different liquors, and I haven't even touched the basis of that. Of the different types of top shelf liquors and where they all come from. There are bartenders that are very savvy on that. Like, from the part where champagne has to come from Champagne, France, because
Yeah.
people don't know that,
Yes.
the same thing with tequila. It has to come from like a certain part of Mexico in order for it to be considered tequila and have the right amount of agave. And these are things that I've actually learned from other bartenders, mobile bartenders like her name is Mo Peacock. She does like little classes, and I'll send you that information later. So
Yeah.
I'm continuing to make myself abreast on the different types of liquors and brands, so that I can like again have a versatile type of clientele.
Right. I feel like maybe one misconception also is that once you become a bartender, that your learning stage stops. Like, I know how to make all the drinks, and now that's it. Like, no, I would imagine that you're still right evolving because the industry evolves, new
Yes.
and different makers come out with different
Yeah.
things. So,
I
interesting.
agree with that. Because even like having virtual cocktail courses, I was focused on just the pouches and just the actual services or having the live events or pop-up shops. And someone came to me and said, "Hey, do you offer virtual cocktail courses?" And I was just like, "Yeah." and you quickly and I quickly kind of put together how it was going to work. So
I do now.
I do that. And what
Right.
I've had is it's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I love it. So what's your favorite drink to make?
Oh my
Or
gosh.
favorite few?
There's two that I love. The margarita, because that's my favorite drink. And then and then I also love I have this blueberry lavender fizz. And I can do it as a mocktail or I can do it as a cocktail. And I actually use lavender syrup. I muddle the blackberries and the blueberries and the agave syrup and add it as a spritzer. It's delicious. It's become very popular.
That
One of my
sounds
popular drinks.
divine. Do
Yes,
you make up I'm sure you do. Do you make up some of your own drinks too? Is that
I,
one that you've made up or?
that is one I made up. So
Ooh.
I've been, yeah. I search on the internet and I say, well, this looks like this will be good.
Well, even with, I am not a bartender by any means, but I always feel like you have different types of drinkers, right? Like you have,
Hmm.
of course, you have like the person who just will drink anything, right?
Yes.
And then you have the person who or at least for me, it's all about the taste,
Hmm.
right? Like it has to be. I'm definitely a frou-frou drinker. Like my husband will get so angry at me because we'll like go to like the all inclusive and I like order like the rail stuff and just because it's pretty. He's like, really, really. He's like,
Yeah.
what? Really? And I'm like, well, it sounded nice,
Well, how do
or
you?
it looked pretty.
Yeah, it looked pretty. How do you feel like it tastes when you order stuff like that?
Horrible.
Yeah.
I'm always very disappointed.
Yeah.
And then I just say, you know what? Just, give me the exact this, give me Don Julio and this.
Yep.
You got to be very specific, but
You got.
I'm always giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? I'm always like, well, maybe they'll really make it good this time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
much.
Have you been to a bar yet and they don't know how to make something? Like I actually went to a bar and they said I don't know how to make like a Cadillac margarita or something like that. Like they know how to make all
Yeah.
these fancy stuff, but they don't just the simple basic stuff. They don't know how to.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
that's why my husband's always like, well, don't ask for drinks by name because to every bartender that could mean something different. So he's like, you got
Different.
to specifically ask for the, the liquors that you want in the
Yes.
drink. But yes, I have been disappointed on a number of occasions asking for drinks by name. I should know better by now.
YBAR, you'll never get that experience. You'll always be. You'll
I'm
always.
sure. Yes. Yeah. Well, I can tell. I'm sure anybody that's watching this knows that you are the real deal, Miss.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
right. This was a thought. Do you, now that you've got YBAR going and this is now
Mhm.
your business, is going out drinking and having fun still the same? Or do you find that you're way more critical now when you go to the bar and you ask for a drink and are you like, I know good and well what's supposed to go in that, so don't you?
Yes. I'm also, I am a little critical, but I'm also a little bit more patient because I've been on the other side of it. And
Ah,
so I don't know if the person is new, so I don't mind telling them. But the also, as I'm a student, I am still a student, and I'm always learning from some of the best. So I would say that, yeah, I'm somewhere in between. I'm somewhere in between.
okay. That's
Yeah.
fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. And I like
I,
that. I
I
love that.
I'm looking at the menu hard and looking at the ingredients. Sometimes I take my phone and take a picture of it, say, okay, I might use that. I might be able to rework that. So,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
that's fun. That is super fun. So, what do you find to be most challenging so far with one owning your own brand and
Yes.
now being a bartender?
Um, two. Well, I don't want to say two things. One, the big thing was the price list.
Ah,
That was definitely the big thing. I would say is learning, like say for example, one of the virtual classes in which I actually I taught. I was agonizing over sending the invoice, and the reason being is because like it came up as I gave them a price quote, and with shipping it became something else,
mm,
and I was just so nervous about sending. I said, well, maybe I'll comp this or maybe I'll comp that, and actually. One of actually my cousin was just saying, no, I think you should just send it as is. And she didn't even wince at the voice, like the invoice. She
mm.
paid it, it was so much fun. And I can't wait till the next time. Let me know when you offer this again. So just kind of getting out of my own way. I think that's one of the big things. We talked about not doing everything on myself,
Oh yeah.
actually. Yeah, allowing people to help. And that's when I've been taking advantage of like using my nephew or my niece, and I'm teaching them how to, because now I get to be a mentor in different
Yeah.
ways. So
Yeah.
that's the,
That's awesome. And who would have thought? Or did you see yourself here 5 years ago?
no, no,
Mm,
no, this was all a dream in my head. And I never thought that I would act, because I'm like that hamster on the wheel. I like to stay busy, 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 busy.
yeah.
But to actually strategize and be focused, um, I still have issues with that, and I look out for outside help, but it's really starting to come together. And like you said, just you know, continuing to learn from my mistakes and build upon new ideas to
Right.
keep it vibrant.
And accepting and appreciating feedback.
Yes,
I feel like, even though we as creators, we may not necessarily accept the help, right?
yes,
But you should, if you're not accepting help, you should at the very least, be open to feedback, right?
yes.
Whether it's your customer
Mhm.
or a partner or a family, you can't be doing everything right all the time,
That's true.
right? And be open to when someone points something out, to say, okay, well, maybe that's something I can think about, because I know I have challenges with that. It's just like, what
Yeah.
do you mean it doesn't look right? Or
Yes.
what do you mean it didn't? What do you mean? So Yeah, we want to get in our
Sure.
feelings, and we're so protective of our
Yes.
YBARs, right? We're so protective of our babies. These are like our other little children, our seedlings,
Yes.
and so we want to protect them all the
I
time.
like the idea of accepting feedback. With your business, have you ever felt like you're receiving too much feedback? Because maybe sometimes people don't want to execute their own visions, and they try to run your business. I have to find that right balance of
Yes.
I take it all in and I use the good stuff and then let the rest go, not take it personally.
Right. And I also learned that it's helpful to be transparent. Like instead of
Mm.
saying yes, 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 it's like, okay, well, in the acceptance of that feedback, give that right back and say, okay, well, I agree with this, but I don't agree with this, and here's why.
Yes.
You know.
Okay.
So I think just being transparent and being open to listen,
Yes.
right, and being receptive. I think all those things are helpful in helping you get to where you want to your vision to be. Let's talk about. Well, we kind of touched on COVID a little bit. You
Okay.
COVID. Would you say COVID helped? Because I'm finding that COVID for a lot of people, at least the people that have been on the show, they were like, COVID was kind of a godsend for my business. um, would you agree with that?
COVID has definitely been a godsend for my business. I know that there was a couple of articles about how um, there have been a lot of small businesses that came about during COVID, because now we can kind of focus on our creativity and
Mm-hmm.
our entrepreneurial skills. And for me, we talked about me being that hamster on the wheel. Like I kept doubting myself. I kept feeling like I need to have all these jobs and experiences before I can actually start, as opposed to just starting and seeing what type of clientele I already have. There was already a need for it, or a desire for it.
Right.
And it grew. It definitely grew. So COVID
Yeah.
has definitely a godsend
Right.
for me, because I
Wow.
don't.
It's
It was just sitting on a shelf for what, 4 months before I actually
wow.
did something with it.
And that is such a common theme with I think everyone that I've had on the show. And I
Mhm.
feel like, my message to creators is don't let COVID be, let COVID be the reason you prosper, not the
Yes.
excuse for why you
Yes.
don't.
Yep.
Because it's easy to say, oh well, I can't do it. Nobody's going to do anything because it's COVID. Or I had one guest on my show who shot an entire feature film during
Wow.
COVID. During
Wow.
COVID, I had another young lady on the show who started a nonprofit organization and had like a whole tech drive during COVID.
Yes. Yes.
So that is my message to a lot of creators and anyone who's looking to do anything, to grow any type of business or entity. Don't let COVID, don't let
Not.
COVID be the reason you
Not.
don't do it. Right?
Yeah. Don't get paralyzed by your fear. Don't make excuses.
Yeah.
Um, there is there is a need for you.
Yeah, and you and guests that I've had on the show are a perfect example
Thank
that you
you.
can definitely do great things, and COVID is not stopping the show.
No.
All right. So with that said, where
You
do you
ready for your
see?
cocktail?
I
Oh,
definitely
time.
am. I know. My little drink over here is getting watered down, and I am ready to sip. But
Awesome.
what's one last thing I want to ask you? Where do you see YBAR in the
And
next few years?
I actually hope where I can be able to employ other people in my community. I Not everyone is, even though we said I have like a business degree, or a communications degree. Not everyone is going to have a degree. So it kind of goes back to that Booker T. Washington, where you have to have a technical trade. And the
Mm,
service industry, even though it's been um, hindered or stopped temporary because of COVID, it's going to come back and it's going to prosper. And I would like to teach people to be able to bartend. I would like to be able to hire. I would like to be able to step back from myself and not also do
yeah.
all the work and just kind of run things on the administrative level. So Yeah, I have big dreams for it. I hope that I can get my own trucks, and I hope that, that I can, yeah. Uh,
Nice.
I hope that, we learned about a Black woman who bought her own tequila. I mean, those are just big dreams, but I really hope that maybe one day that could be YBAR or something like that.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well,
Yeah,
Yetta, you are on your way, ma'am. Let me just tell you.
thank you.
All right. So
Fingers.
now I'm ready. Now, okay. So just so we can set things up.
Okay.
So Yetta is going to treat us to a demonstration. So hopefully you stuck around long enough to see this part. But she's going to treat us to a demonstration of one of your signature drinks, one of my faves. I
Yes, yes,
make these at home. I don't know why the margarita is such a go-to for me. It's almost like you can't mess it up. You can only, make it better some kind of way. And maybe that's kind of why I always have tequila. I always have limes, and it just
yeah,
works.
yeah.
All right, so Yetta, go
My,
for it. What are we gonna do here?
okay, I'm gonna put you on pause while I move you over real quick,
Okay, all right.
and we're gonna get started.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and sip in the meantime, folks. Don't mind me. I'm home and I'm not driving.
So, Angela, we're gonna use T. Capritas tequila, the black
Okay.
one. You can learn about that.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna do our 2 ounces, 8 pours.
Now, Yetta, do you have a name for this margarita that you're making?
This is just a regular Cadillac margarita.
Oh, so now that's nothing regular about that. It's a Cadillac margarita.
It's a Cadillac margarita.
Okay.
Add my lime juice. Add a little simple syrup just to make it sweet. Just squirt. Of course, we have our triple sec.
Mm-hmm.
About a half an ounce. Our sweet and sour.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's something I usually don't add to mine. I might start doing that.
Yes.
Nice. Now, this is something that folks can make at home, right? This seems this. You ever see drinks that you want to make at home and you're like, well, I don't have that. I don't usually carry that in my bar. Like, why would I have that? Like mint. Right?
Yes.
Who keeps mint? I don't keep mint.
It's funny you say that because I actually want to start growing it because I love a good mojito.
Oh, yeah.
Love a good mojito. And we're going to add, what makes it the Cadillac is to top it off with the Grand Marnier.
Oh, Grand Marnier, folks. That's important.
Yes. And add our lemon wedge.
Nice.
Happy hour is served.
Oh, indeed it is. Well, I just normally drop my lime in my glass.
Yes.
So it works either way.
Garnish, but there we go.
All right, nice. And so those pouches are available, right, through you as well. Okay. My first time experiencing the pouch, I was out in Santa Cruz during COVID, and I saw these folks drinking from pouches. And I was like, what are these folks? What is this stuff everybody's walking around with? And I was like, I feel like I'm left out. And so, of course, I sent my husband to go and get me one. But that was my first experience with the pouch because it's all closed up and concealed technically.
Very COVID friendly. Very COVID friendly. If you're going to a picnic, something like that, you could take this with you, just depending on if they allow alcohol there. So, and if you when movies open up, you can sneak it in your bag.
Well, that's important because now some movie theaters have a bar, and when we talk about pricing, you thought popcorn was overpriced.
Yes.
Oh my, that's like a whole nother show. Yetta, anything else you want to share with our audience? Thank you so much for being on the show. I so appreciate you talking to the audience. And I don't know if you want to end there or if you want to get back to your area and end there. No, end there, because you've got your logo and everything showing. It looks all official.
I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to actually promote my business. It's still growing, and just be on the lookout for future things. And I'm hoping that I can also do other collaborations. I've actually started collaborating with other small business, from making T-shirts. Um, yeah, just little things to give
Nice.
me more ideas, like we talked about earlier with other bartenders. So I'm just looking forward to the future, and thank you for giving me this opportunity and platform.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. This is Snazzy TV. This is Before They Get Famous. We have just been treated to a fantastic start to our weekend with Yetta Bungie, the owner and operator of YBAR LLC. I'm going to put all of her social media information on in the description box and on the screen, and so you'll be able to follow her and show her a little bit of love, because Yetta, you are really, really
Oh my
doing
gosh.
the damn thing. All
I'm
right.
sorry.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Mwah.